Today, we're talking about
One Piece.
Red Film movie. I just got back from the theater. I just watched it fresh out of my head. And we definitely got to talk about it now. The first couple of minutes are probably not going to be any spoilers. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it. And then, of course, we're going to get into the spoiler territory. Now, is this movie good, bad? Why did I think about this movie? I thought it was an okay movie. I will say it definitely does a lot of things unexpected, especially if you watch the trailer. I feel like the trailer is definitely some false advertisement, and one of them is actually good. The other one is kind of bad. First, let's talk about the bad, because let's be real. If you go watch this movie expecting to get a lot of Shanks screen time, you're not going to get that. In fact, I just watched the trailer before I started recording for this video, just to make sure to see if I was, kind of BSing this whole thing. But pretty much in the trailer is pretty much everything you're gonna see about Shanks. Maybe a couple of extra added scenes, but really not that much. So I was kind of disappointed by that, because let's be real, this movie was definitely advertised as a Shanks kind of movie, right? So I kind of went in expecting to get a lot of information, and really we didn't get that much. We got some new information, but nothing groundbreaking that makes you think about Shanks as a character. Really, if we didn't learn anything that we learned in this movie about Shanks, it would have been fun. It's really that insignificant, the stuff that we did learn. Now, the other thing is, kind of like the villain of the story, I did not see it coming, right? The trailer really didn't give us any clue about what was going on. So whenever the villain was revealed, I was like, wow, really? Okay. So that was kind of good. I did like that. But aside from that, really, the motivation of the villain and stuff like that doesn't seem that important as well. I feel like really this movie was kind of made more to just please the fans. I mean, this movie is 100% filler without a shadow of a doubt. It probably does have some canon information regarding Shanks and stuff like that, but again, you don't need to know any of that stuff, because it's not really relevant to the story that's being told in the canon story of One Piece. Now, of course, as a One Piece fan, I did love all the different characters that showed up. There were a lot of characters that showed up. So again, this just makes me feel like this movie was kind of put together to show and put as many like fan service stuff when it came to all these characters, right? Like the fan favorites for like the past 5 years are all going to show up. So that was fun, but it kind of, messes up a little bit, because they tried to give all these different characters like a really hype moment, and when you have that many characters, it just kind of falls flat. So that's the way I felt about it. But again, seeing all these characters was pretty cool. It's a One Piece movie, right? One Piece is known for having great characters, so seeing all of them in this movie, it was great, and I liked it. Now, we are going to jump into some spoiler territory, because really, for me to explain why I would rate the movie the way I'm gonna rate it at the end, you're gonna find out. I definitely need to go into some details about the story and stuff like that, about the flaws of the movie and everything that happened in this movie. So without further ado, we are going to get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie or you don't want to be spoiled, definitely just go ahead and either skip to the end where you're going to see my rating, or if you want to be spoiled, by all means stay. So I already stated that this movie is filler, so really everything that happened in this movie is really irrelevant to the story of One Piece. But on top of that, right, I honestly expected a lot of information regarding Shanks, and really Shanks did what Shanks does best. He has the minimal amount of screen time in this movie, okay? Yeah, he got a couple lines here and there, but overall, like, I don't know how long the movie was, probably like an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes. Shanks probably has a total of like 20 minutes screen time, and a lot of it is, flashbacks and stuff like that. Now, we did get to see Shanks actually fight, and that was pretty cool, but he didn't do anything too crazy out there, right? We got to see a little display of his haki, which was amazing. And then, I thought we were going to get like a big fight between the Marines and then, Shanks, and of course, typical, we're not gonna do this right now. It happened, and then they just left it at that, right? So that to me was probably the biggest disappointment in this movie, was the fact that Shanks really didn't do anything crazy that made me really like, know more about the character. It's just kind of like, hey, here's Shanks. We know he's a fan favorite of the series, but we're not really gonna give you anything regarding Shanks. He's just gonna be there, gonna do a couple things, couple flashy moves, and then he's gonna get out. Typical Shanks, right? So I really am excited for for the future of One Piece, the canon story, because we're eventually going to learn everything there is to learn about this man, and I feel like it's gonna be some really good stuff. Now, the other thing that we definitely have to talk about is kind of like the villain of the story, and that of course being Uta. I definitely did not see that coming from the trailer. I honestly thought Uta was gonna be kind of like the damsel in distress that Luffy was going to rescue, and of course Shanks, Uta being his daughter, also was going to come in and rescue her and stuff like that. But that really was not the case. So I really did like that because it was quite surprising. But that's really the extent of how good that whole little plot twist was done, because when we get down to Uta's motivation for the reason of everything that she's doing, it kind of falls flat, right? Again, spoilers, but essentially Uta wants to essentially put the whole world into like, Uchiha Madara little genjutsu, right? That was kind of funny, but she wants essentially to get everybody, because pirates are bad, they're stealing and doing all this stuff. So essentially she wants to put everybody, steal everybody's soul, put them into like a little sing dream, and that's it, right? End of the world, pretty much. Again, her reasonings for it is because Shanks supposedly destroyed the island that she was left on, and because of that she felt like all pirates are bad, blah blah blah. But then we learned that she actually learned the truth of what happened there, right? Essentially the big villain showed up, right? Like the magic music monster, the Demon King. It was the one that destroyed the island. But of course Shanks, not wanting for Uta to take the blame for what happened, because it was kind of her fault as a child, she was manipulated to summon that little demon. He took the blame himself and sailed away and kind of left Uta behind on the island with the king of that island. Those were the only two survivors. So for the rest of her life, she spent her whole life alone in that island. She really didn't know what was going on in the outside world. She just had this image that pirates were bad. But then halfway through the movie, we actually learned, maybe towards the end, that, she actually learned the truth about what happened. She learned that she summoned the little music monster and it destroyed everything. And I'm like, well, why are you still doing this? If you know the truth, why are you still trying to put this whole world into this little genjutsu and stuff like that, and essentially ruin the whole world, right? Instead of actually learning the truth. And, of course, we know Luffy's a good pirate. Shanks, we don't know yet, right? Again, we didn't get no new information about Shanks. Shanks definitely has some red flags, you know what I mean? So we just don't know, but that's my whole point, right? Not all pirates are bad, and the fact that she was just gonna take everybody out because of what happened in that island, 12 years ago, it kind of makes no sense, especially after she learned the truth. Now, of course, the other thing that was kind of iffy with this movie, is almost like a musical. There was a lot of music and singing in this movie from Yuta, of course. I believe there was maybe like 7 or 8 songs, and they were all about 1 minute to 2 minutes. Some were like 3 minutes of just singing. Now, some of the songs were straight bangers. I'm sure they're gonna be a lot of people listening to them, but I don't think in the previous One Piece movies there was a lot of singing. I haven't seen them because, again, since these movies are filler, I never really have an interest. But I am going to go see some of the Netflix movies, One Piece movies, because I want to compare, right? I want to see how comparable this movie is to the older One Piece movies, because I just don't think they were this bad. I honestly think this movie was pretty bad. Aside from the singing, if you don't like all that stuff, then you're probably not going to enjoy that aspect of it. I didn't mind it because, again, I came into this movie not expecting anything. So whenever they were singing, I liked the music. It was pretty cool. But there were some weird animations in there, and the singing as well. You could tell that in some of the songs they changed the voice actress. I went and watched it with my daughter, and every time they changed the voice actors, we kind of looked at each other like, what just happened here? I mean, the voice is completely different. And then of course, whenever Uta was doing her dancing and stuff like that, some of them looked really, really good, and some of it looked kind of like it was CGI, and it was very, very noticeable. Again, I feel like this movie was just done to kind of just cash in on the popularity of movies kind of being canon. I mean, Demon Slayer, with this movie being 100% canon, that did some crazy numbers, the #1 movie. Then, of course, we got Jujutsu Kaisen 0, a canon movie that absolutely killed it. So I feel like when you look at the trailer of this movie, you will see a lot of stuff like, written, original story, and now Eshiro Oda, they're trying to advertise like this movie was actually going to be like some real big, or at the very least connected to the canon story, when in reality, it really isn't. You really don't know, you really don't learn anything in this movie that makes the canon material or improves on the canon material. You can literally not watch this movie and it won't affect anything at all about your knowledge of One Piece. Aside from that, again, if I had to rate this movie, I will go with a 5 out of 10. Now today I will go watch some of the other One Piece movies just to kind of see if the other movies were either worse or better than this, right? Again, it's all opinion, right? I'm pretty sure some people went and watched this movie and they loved it because there is some good things about this movie, right? Like the comedy, again, seeing all the Straw Hats, all the cameo from Kobe. We got all the admirals. I forgot their name. I'm horrible with names, but we got some pretty good fights in here as well. Nothing great. Again, the final villain, the huge little demon music monster. That I don't like the big kaiju fight, so that didn't make it. I didn't like that at all. But again, that's just my opinion, right? Again, some people might watch this movie and they think it was a great movie, and it is what it is, right? You just got to find that person that has the same opinions as you and see if you agree on the stuff that I'm saying, right? But if you have seen this movie, definitely let me know in the comments what you thought of it. What were your favorite parts? What were the parts that you didn't like? And like always, make sure to like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace out. Boom.